Hello everybody, it's Scott O'Maro back for another video on integrated dynamics. This time we're going to do a practical application of it using the atomic reconstructor here from Actually Additions, which with the lens of the miner will make ores. Now this is based on a question that I had in Reddit, but I thought we had gotten enough material up to this point to be able to actually do it, only learning a few new things. So hope you'll follow along. I'll try to do my best in explaining it. Okay, so let's place down the atomic reconstructor here, and we need to give it some power. Okay, and once we give it some power, then it's going to shoot out a laser, right? Okay, like so. And if there's stone in front of that and we add a lens of the miner to it, then it will convert that stone into an ore, which is really cool. Okay, now it'll just keep shooting over and over again, so we need to right click it with a redstone torch to put it into pulse mode so that it won't just go over and over again. Okay, now Actually Addition also includes a block breaker, okay, and it also includes a block placer, right? So if we put stone here into the placer and the breaker, then they'll just continually cycle back and forth. Okay, which is, not what we want. So if we put down a lever here, okay, and then put some redstone, like so, and turn on the lever, then we can deactivate them, deactivate both of them, so they have redstone control, which is fine. Then another thing we could do is get rid of this redstone, is we can right click this guy to put him in pulse mode. Now he needs a redstone pulse. This guy is still in deactivation mode, so if we get rid of this, he'll place the stone. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to take and test to see if this is stone, and if so, trigger the atomic reconstructor here to convert it, right? And then ultimately we'll want to go ahead and trigger this guy too, to break it, but we'll do it step by step. All right. So for integrated dynamics, we're done with these right now. And the power cell. Put our redstone and our lever up here. For integrated dynamics, what we're going to want is a block reader. Okay. So the block reader will read the block in front of it and give you information about it. Now, you also need to put a cable on it to be able to right-click it. Oops. To be able to right-click to open it, its interface. All right. And it's saying, yes, there's a block in front of it, and the block is stone. Okay. So we've got these two options here. Has block and is the block stone. Okay. So we could use that. We can use that. So we could say if the block is stone, meaning it's not an ore, then turn this guy on, okay? And to turn him on, we're going to use a redstone writer, okay? We're going to write redstone to that right there, okay? So we just hook it up with cables like that, okay? Now they are connected to each other. So what we do is we get a variable of this here. Okay, and this is going to give us the aspect type of block of the block reader. Its aspect of block is what kind of block is it, and its type is block. All right, so let's put down our logic programmer here. I like to just use the box in these tutorials so that we can see, well, that's a variable store, so we can see that that's what's going on. We're addressing the logic programmer. Okay, I can get rid of that now. So here, this is equal to stone. So if we put a display, because we can use a display for debugging purposes and just put it on the cable there. Then put our variable card that we got of the aspect block. It will show us that it's a block of stone. All right, that's cool. Yeah, that's what we want. So that's dynamic. It'll change according to what is in front of here. It'll tell it the type of ore and all that kind of stuff. But we want to test to see if it is stone and only trigger this guy if it's stone. So we need to create what's known as a constant, and that's what these capitalized guys are. So we're going to create a constant of the type block. Now keep in mind, this is the type block here of that aspect. But we want to create a constant of stone to say, give me a variable that defines a block of stone. And that's what this is. Okay. So if I went and put that guy in here, then it would show me a block of stone because that's what it is. So this would be a block of stone because there's stone in front of that, but this one changes. This one always stays stone, but they are equal to each other. And we can test for that. We can say equality. So you could type equal. You could type equals like that. Two equals next to each other in programming is the equality test, the test for equality. So we'll put these two variable cards here in the test. Now, if you look at the parameters that's needed, it needs any type of inputs, type 1, type 2, but they need to be equal to each other. So these are both blocks, so that will work. So we put another variable card in here, and it will give us the output type of Boolean. Boolean is true or false. If they are equal to each other, it's true. If they are not equal to each other, it's false. If these are both stone, it's true. If this is an OR of any type, then it's false. Okay, so that's good. So we need to make these available to the network because this is good if we put this in here in the redstone pulse area, because that's what we need to provide a redstone pulse. It's going to give us this error and say it could not be found within the current network. Now the reason is because we have the variables here in our inventory. The variables need to be able to be seen by the network. So we create a thing called a variable store where the variables are stored, and we put our variables in there. It's an inventory, and we put them in there and make sure it's cabled to the network. All right, that worked. Okay, so if I break that, that guy will place a stone because he's not been deactivated. He'll just always keep placing stones, and then this will convert it. Well, that's cool. Okay, so that works. Now, we want to get this guy to break it. Okay, this guy's in pulse mode. Now, he would break it if we switched modes, but see, he's going to keep breaking too. All right, he'll just keep doing it, sometimes getting cobblestone. We don't want that. All right, I'm going to clear this out. We don't want it to get cobblestone, or we want to minimize it. We may not be able to totally eliminate it, but we want to minimize it. So, okay, we're going to write a redstone pulse to this guy here. All right, now based upon what? Well, what do we want to base it on? Well, there's a couple things. Like we could say, if this is not stone, this is not stone, okay? It's an OR. That's the two conditions actually there's a third condition, which I'll tell you about in a moment, but that's at least two of the major conditions here. So we have our redstone right here. So let's do a test to say if this is not stone, because we could just reuse our variables that we have right here. Instead of saying, are they equal? We'll just say, are they not equal? Is this dynamic 1 not equal to this constant of stone? All right, there is a test for that. So you could type equals again. Now with the exclamation mark and the equals, that's not equals. That's the inverse of equals. So not equals. So we'll just put these two guys in here. It wants two of any type that match, and it will output a Boolean. So if these are not equal, it will be true. We just use the same variable cards again. That's an efficient way of doing it. And that gives us what we need right here for this guy. Now, just because I'm going to go ahead and put a lever down here so we can control that guy, because he's the one that we don't have any control over. So if I put my test in there, all right, it's not stone. Breaking, it's not stone. Okay. And that's working pretty good. We get cobble every once in a while, but generally it works pretty well. Now it can get out of crazy sync sometimes. Just depends. All right, this guy ran out of stone. So we'll give him some more stone. And here we go. Okay. And so working pretty well. Now, of course, we could lever to turn that guy off and he never gets any more. Okay, let's keep this thing cleared out. So that's like simple automation that works. What is the case where it fails? Okay, it's testing to see if it's not stone. Well, it turns out that in this state right now, right here, it's not stone. Well, if it's not stone, what is it? It's air. Okay, air's a block. It's air right now. So that could trigger it. It could be an in-between state of where it hasn't placed it, but it's reading air. Okay, so, well, we don't want that. We don't want it to trigger if it's not air. Now, what is this other case that we have here? Has block, false. So we could use that guy too to say has block. That's a Boolean. Okay, has block is false. Let's try with that one. All right, because that one's immediately available. We don't have to do anything new. Right? So we say has block, and we grab it, and we get a Boolean from that. Okay? Now, how do we include it in this test? This is a test for equality that gives us a Boolean. Well, there's a logic test where you can chain them together called AND. Okay? It's a logical test, and it gives you a Boolean. So you give a test that will give you a Boolean or any type of Boolean, a constant of a Boolean, and then another Boolean, and it'll give you a Boolean. But it'll only evaluate to true if both are true. And it'll evaluate to, that's the only time it'll evaluate to true, period. If both are true. All right? That's what we need to know, is if both of these are true, okay, so it has a block, and that block is not stone. Okay? Has a block, and that block is not stone. That would eliminate that error, A-I-R condition that could create a problem for us. Okay? So we just put those two guys in there and get the result of that. Now, we can add these both to the variable store and use that test, which is two tests in one, essentially, as our area, okay? And so right now, that's evaluating as false because it's not reading this condition anymore. Let's see, this guy. Okay, and that should be an even cleaner, more robust test. It will not get that in-between state anymore. So we truly shouldn't see cobble come through any longer. Okay, now it may, possibly happen, but it's pretty regulated at this point. Now, we could have done it with the block air. Okay, now it turns out that block, its default value, the thing, if there is no block, can't do it that way. If we just put a variable card in here, then the output of that is air, value air. Okay, so could do it that way. Same difference, really. Same difference. So I just think this is maybe a little bit cleaner to understand test, but it works quite well. Now, ideally, we would want to get a master switch to this. Okay, we would want a master override switch. So let's look at how to do that. It's actually the same thing that we just learned pretty much. So let's place a block there, and let's do a redstone reader. Okay, we haven't used the reader yet, but we're going to read the state of redstone for this guy, for this test. Okay, so we're going to put a lever here, and now we're going to read the state of that lever. And let's see, I actually want it facing that way. All right, in its current state of off, this redstone reader says redstone low is true. That means it's off. Redstone high is the other state, is false. Okay, so there's these two states of redstone, high and low. So if I turn it on, they reverse to where high is now true and low is false. Well, we're wanting to know if it's on. So we're going to use redstone high as our test. And it gives us this variable that is a Boolean. Okay, redstone is high. That means the lever is on. So we only want this whole circuit to trigger regardless of what the state of this is. If it's stone or not, then if this lever is also on also. So what we do is we just go ahead and do what we just did before. We take that AND operator and we include it. So we say to create an additional layer of test. So we get our AND there and we say if redstone is true, okay, the lever's on, and stone is in front of that guy, that one's true, then do it. So if the lever's off, don't do it. Okay, that's basically it. And put this guy back into here. Right there, it's going to complain about the variables because we need to add those to the store here and there. Okay, so now this guy will only trigger regardless. Right, there's our state of stone. See, the lever's off. So stone will sit there all the time. Now we can get it back on. Okay, so that works well. We could go ahead and add this guy to that situation to trigger it off. But why don't we go ahead and add this guy to it and leave him in deactivation mode? Because, you know, it's just easier overall in a setup to do it. So all we really care about is putting this guy, if the redstone lever is on, then go ahead and deactivation is off. Okay, because if you activate it, this won't work at all, regardless of that state. Okay, see, it'll go through one cycle. Oops, it'll go through one cycle, but that's it. Because when you have redstone on, you're turning this guy off. Okay, now so we want to invert that logic. So we want to test for the low on that. We want to say if this lever is on, then we want to turn this off. Okay, we want to turn that off. So again, we get a redstone writer. Go there. Whoops. And then we want to cable it into the network. Okay, and our state is going to be redstone pulse. It's actually going to send not redstone pulse in this case, but constant redstone is what we want. So basically, we just want the inverse of this guy. So we want to say if the redstone is low, if it's off, then that guy is true. Okay, so we just get this variable right here and plug him in down there in the redstone area, not the pulse area. And there you go. So now when I trigger this lever on, then the whole circuit will work pretty darn reliably as well, because we have several layers of tests that are going on and we can't control it. We'll just leave this guy in pulse because he's not going to get any further pulses. We don't need to tie him to the power level, the main lever. We could, if we wanted, of course, rather easily. Same principles of adding it in. So the cool thing about integrated dynamics is you can go much further to test if these were actually ores. Okay, get from the ore dictionary. We won't do it in this video. You could test to see how much stone was in here and only trigger if they're stone or deliver stone, or test how full this guy was and determine that, or get rid of certain parts of it, things like that. Only test the power of this. So you could go a lot further with it, but this is a pretty basic and useful setup right here for just getting your ores from it. And I think that's plenty for an introductory video. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. This is Scott O'Mato. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments or by leaving a like what you think, and consider subscribing to this channel for more content. I do have a expanding playlist on integrated dynamics where we're going to try to learn quite a bit about it. Anyway, take care, Scott O'Mato. Have a great day. Bye-bye.